agency, agency law and relationships. Now, one of the things I want to tell you right from the start is that what we're going to go over, this is from a real estate agency cheat sheet, right? And so here's how it looks, the real estate exam cheat sheet national study guide. And this is absolutely amazing. It gives you all the information that you need. And so today's topic that we're going to go over is agency. But if you want to get a copy of this cheat sheet, then this is something that you're going to want to order. You'll find the link right here. Or if you don't see the link, then all you need to do is DM me and I'll send you over the link. But you see, I already did a video on contracts, so you might want to take a look at that on my profile. Hello there, Mr. Rosa. And now we're going to do about agency. Of course, I always appreciate everyone's likes and shares. So thank you so much for liking the live. So for those of you that want to get your real estate license, this is a cheat sheet that you will want to use, my friends. And thank you so much for your likes. So we're going to talk today about agency. What is agency when it comes to real estate? See, if you're involved in financial services or some other type of industry, agency might be different for you. But for us, agency is a legal relationship of trust where a client hires a real estate professional to work on your behalf. And so that's important stuff to know. And what you can see here is that the graphics and the explanations, thank you so much for your likes and your shares, my friends. The likes are so important to keep the live going strong. But when it comes to real estate, you see, agency is so important because what it is all about the relationship that two parties have. You see, you can have the client and the real estate agent relationship. You can have an agency relationship between the real estate broker and the real estate salesperson. So there's all different ways that you can have agency relationship. And remember that when it comes to clients, right, agency, is that you are going to get advice and advocacy. Thank you so much for your likes, my friends. When it comes to customers, you see, in real estate, there's a difference between clients and customers. Clients, you get fiduciary obligations, right? COLDAC is something that we're going to talk about, that acronym. But for customers and agency, you get facts only. You see, we still have to be fair and honest with customers, but we don't have the fiduciary obligations that come with agency when we talk about customers. Now, there's two different kinds here, types of agency relationships. There's express agency and implied agency. And once again, you might be looking at this like, wow, Rob, this is great information. This will help me study. This will help me pass the real estate exam. Well, this cheat sheet is available for you. All you need to do is check the link out or DM me. And thank you so much for all your likes and your shares, my friends. So talking about agency relationships, there's express. Okay. Now, express agency is that you've signed a document, you've shaked hands, you've said, hey, listen, will you be my real estate agent? And that agency says, yes, I will be your agent. And that person, usually you're going to sign a buyer agreement, agency agreement, or you're going to sign a listing agreement. And that person will be working on your behalf, right? It's been stated. Of course, you want it in writing, and we did talk a little bit about that in contracts. But you can have an oral express agreement. It will not be enforceable in court in most states if it's for real estate and worth over $500 worth of real estate. And thank you so much for your likes and your shares. Now, the opposite of express is implied. Implied is all about you creating agency by your behavior, not by your intention. So you see, what you're going to want to do with implied agency is stay away from it as a real estate agent. But if you get involved with it, what you're talking about is that you are becoming someone's agent, right? While you are actually working in the business. And it's usually not the smart way to go. And the reason why is it creates a lot of confusion, right? You don't have something that's actually written. There's also, when we talk about the national exam, there is something called agency by estoppel, right? And that's over here in the bottom, and ostensible agency, which is basically saying, right, is that when a principal creates the appearance of agency, they cannot deny it later. So that's one of those things. And once again, thank you so much for being a viewer and sharing with me. Put any questions that you have here as we talk about agency. So we talked about express agency and what that means. We talked about implied agency. We talked about agency by estoppel. Now there's also general agency. Now general agency usually means that you have a broad authority. So, and that is not usually for a real estate agent. General agency is usually for someone who's involved in property management, right? Because, well, what are they doing? Maybe in the morning time, they're talking with their contractors, like the plumber and the electrician and so forth, and what needs to be fixed for that day. And then maybe in the afternoon, they're talking to their investors and the owners, and they're going over the accounting and what's going on with the financials for a building. A property manager might do that. And then maybe in the evening, they're talking with tenants about leasing and signing leasing contracts and that sort of thing. So when we talk about general agency, usually it's a broad range of authority. They're doing many different things, and that is usually for someone like a real estate property manager. We also have special or limited agency. And you see how everything is broken down by this cheat sheet with the graphics. This is such an awesome tool, and I love it, right? But it's narrow authority for a specific transaction. That's what special or limited agency is. A listing agent hired only to list or sell a property. They cannot necessarily bind the seller to a contract. So when you're a special agent, which is most of the time real estate agencies, right, a special or limited authority, what you're doing is they're hiring you in order for you to help them buy a property or sell a property. It's not necessarily like you are working for them to do a broad range of matters. It's just for that one particular opportunity. And thank you again so much for your likes there, sir. We appreciate it. But as we move forward in agency, I want to go over one more set of terms with you. Right? And so I like to say COLDAC, but in this particular graphic, they like to use OLDCAR as an acronym. OLDCAR, how cool is that? Right? OLDCAR. So when you have an agency relationship with a client, these are the fiduciary duties that have to be adhered to by a real estate agent. So if you look at, for instance, O stands for obedience. Oh man, I know many of you don't like that word obedience. You're like, I don't have to obey anybody. I can do whatever I want. Well, guess what? You can't. You can't do whatever you want, right? You have to be obedient to your client. So if there's a $350,000 house for sale and they look at you and they say, hey, you know what? I'm paying in cash and I only want to pay $200,000. So make a written offer for $200,000. You can look at them and say, yeah, but you know, it's listed for $350,000. I don't care. I want to make an offer for $200,000. Well, guess what you have to do, my friends? That's right. You heard it. You have to make that offer for $200,000 because you chose, right, to work for this particular client. Okay. So you have to have obedience, right? Loyalty. Come on. Client's interests come first, even before your commission. That's right. Right? You can't have, you know what I'm talking about? That commission breath. Nobody likes that. Nobody wants to smell it, right? You cannot put yourself first. You cannot be worried about your commission. If it means by showing them this property or that property, and then you're going to make less money, then that's what you need to do. You need to have loyalty to your client. Third one on OLDCAR is disclosure, right? Everything you know bad about a property, or good, of course, but especially bad if you know that there's something about a property that is going to make a difference, right? It is going to persuade them to want to buy the property or not buy the property. Like if you know that the basement floods, if you know that the front porch is rotted out, then you have to disclose it. Anything that you know that could affect their decision, that's a material effect, you need to disclose. Next one, confidentiality, my friends. That's right. You heard me. Protect private information during and after agency ends. You have to keep financial info confidential, right? You have to keep their motivation to buy or sell confidential. You have to keep personal details confidential and acceptable price range of what they're looking to do confidential. All right? Accounting on OLDCAR, right? Handle money and documents properly. Now, when you go to take the state exam and they're going to talk to you, they're going to ask you a lot of questions about agency. Under accounting, you need to know 2 particular terms specifically. And once again, thank you so much for your likes and your shares. It's so important. So the 2 terms that you need to know under accounting are commingling and conversion. Now, commingling is about mixing your personal funds with the client's funds. You can't do that. If they give you $5,000 for a down payment on a property and that purchase and sale agreement has been signed, you cannot take that $5,000 and put it in your personal bank account. You are going to have a big time problem, and that is a violation of real estate law in probably every single state in the United States. So commingling, you got to be careful of. And conversion, I don't know which one's worse, but that one is actually using the client's funds for personal use. Oh man, you do that, you're gonna get in a lot of trouble. If they give you that $5,000 as a down payment and you decide that you are going to go to the casino, to your favorite slot machine or to blackjack and put it down and double your money, you are going to get in trouble if that's found out. That could be a big time problem, my friends. So no commingling and no conversion. You got me? Make sure you know that one, because that would be a big no-no. And then last one before we end this live is we're going to talk about reasonable care and skill. And once again, just to take a quick moment, I cannot tell you about how awesome this real estate exam cheat sheet is. National Study Guide. If you're thinking about taking the exam, this is the guide that you want to buy, my friends. All right. And it's not expensive, and it has all the major terms that you need to know when you're taking the real estate exam. And so me being the a pre-licensing school instructor in Connecticut, I endorse this. I think it's awesome. If you're looking to get your license in Connecticut, reach out to me because I'd love to be able to help you out. We have Zoom classes. We have very flexible schedule and very flexible payment plans. But let's kind of finish up today, right, and talk about reasonable care and skill, right? That's the last one in the fiduciary duties of agency for real estate. OLDCAR, right? Obedience, loyalty, disclosure. There's old, right? And confidentiality, accounting, and then reasonable care and skill. And that one seems a little bit vague to a lot of people when I teach the real estate class. But what you're going to realize is that it means that you have to use your knowledge, use your ability. And thank you so much for all your likes and shares as a professional. So what are some of the examples of that, right? Well, some examples might be preparing the documents accurately. You need to do the best you can to prepare the documents correctly. Giving correct info. Be careful, my friends. Make sure that you're filling out documents and you're giving correct info. You're not giving incorrect info. You're not lying. You're not telling a bunch of baloney. Meeting deadlines. So if you tell the buyer, hey, listen, we can get the inspection done within 10 days. We can get the mortgage commit within 30 days. Well, what you're going to want to do is you want to make sure you're verifying that with the mortgage lender. You're verifying that with the inspector, and that you are putting deadlines on there that are going to make sense, my friends. So that's very, very important. And then understanding zoning, financing, and property issues, because you don't want to tell somebody that you are an expert on helping somebody buy a horse farm, and maybe you never did it before, and maybe you help them buy this property. They want to have 2 horses, and you tell them that 2 acres is fine in this town to buy this horse farm to have 2 horses, and then come to find out they needed 3 acres or 4 acres. Well, guess what? You did not provide reasonable care and skill. And can you get in big time trouble for that as a salesperson? Can you get in big time trouble as a real estate broker? Yes, because you portrayed something as yourself as somebody and someone who knows, and you did not really know. And now you put your client behind. You made them lose time, you made them lose money, and that could be a big deal, my friends. All right. So with that in mind, that's everything that I wanted to go over today with you. All right. I just wanted to remind you that this book is actually pretty awesome. DM me if you want to get all the information about it. It's definitely something that if you want to take the real estate class, you want to look into this, right? I have the link here, or if you don't see it for one reason or another, then all you need to do is DM me. This is Rob Rosa. Hopefully your favorite real estate broker. And I'll talk to you soon, my friends. God bless and have an awesome day. Bye.